Octavia Spencer plays Madam C.J. Walker in the miniseries Self-Made from 2020. This is the first female millionaire in the USA. So yay! So I'm thinking money. We're going to be like doing banking and all of that stuff. Because usually people make money by being bankers or lenders or real estate or anything. No! She does hair. And she does black hair. Or however that the terminology is. There was terminology in this miniseries that I'm not going to use. Because I'm white. And that is probably not okay for me to use some of the terms. This story is loosely based on the biography that was written about this real-life black woman who crawled out of nothing and became a millionaire, and by the end of the series has a mansion next to Mr. Rockefeller in New York City. Because I don't know exactly where it starts, but they moved to Indianapolis. And all through, to start her business, to start her, or effectively it turns out to be a factory at some point to make this hair product for black hair specifically. When I was reading up on Wikipedia on her life, one of the things that came up was that her hair was actually ruined by bad products. Because there were no good products for making black hair beautiful, because there was nobody thinking there was any money to be made in that. Therefore, bottom of the rung. Now, this whole bottom of the rung thing is very important in this miniseries, in this storytelling, because it's not just about the white people have everything, they're in charge of the money, they're in charge of, not charge, they rule the money, they rule the public sentiment, they rule everything, and that's what these people have to work under. So it's after liberation, but it is way before you get even the women's vote or any of those things. And what struck me very much is that Madam C.J. Walker, her actual name was Sarah. She later becomes Madam C.J. Walker because of her third husband's name, and that is his name, as people did in those days, as women did in those days. You literally, those days, like 1900, 1890, that kind of time, is that once you marry, you take the first names of, as in Mrs. Edward blah blah. So she took Madam C.J. Walker as her name to publicize with her product. That was very normal. That was not to boost her husband at all. That was her proper name. The Madam, I think, was to show that she had knowledge and was a beautician. Oh gosh, I forget the name that they use in cosmetics. They use different words, and it's all really, really interesting how things are termed. Because everything has, of course, like glitzy names these days now. But the most important thing for her was hair. She lost her hair due to, according to Wikipedia, also due to bad hair products. In the miniseries, they specifically say that it was stress. Because of how she was just constantly working as a laundry person and not like in a company or in a hotel. She was just like going door to door, can I do your laundry? And she made less than $1 a day. I'm not quite sure how much that is in real money, but it sounds like very, very little. And it's also not terribly, I mean, she is self-employed. She was already self-employed as a laundry person. So to her, being self-employed would have been like, yeah, I've always been self-employed. Why would I start working for another person? No, every single cent goes to me. Then this product comes her way in the form of Addie. That is now going to be her rival. And I found it extremely interesting. from my perspective, to hear about the various levels. So I was just saying, you don't just have levels of society of, oh, they're not white and therefore they're complete outside of everything that white people could do, such as go work in a hotel and do, be a maid there, which is already like very stereotypical what you would consider that black people would be relegated to doing, but she wasn't even up to that point. Because she wasn't pretty enough. And they said this through not just her voice, but through many of the women in this that she talks to about hair. She says we can't do anything about how our face looks, other than of course makeup. But we can do something about our hair. We can style it better. We can make it grow better. And that was the product that this woman brought to her, was a hair growing product. And I would imagine in modern days parlance that would be more like a healthy product, because maybe the products that they were giving the women to be able to comb their hair with when it's like super tightly curled and it's really hard to comb, maybe they were giving her Vaseline products. Well, if you put that on your scalp, that's gonna kill your scalp, and her hair fell out. And that's one of the big dramas in her life, that she not only was dealing with all the other things, being black, being the wrong type of black type, and people said to her face that she wasn't pretty, which is a disaster. We know this from books also by white women. We know that it was better to be pretty than to be intelligent. This is not... Oh, yeah. Yep. Peanut gallery.
In the 1900s, 1890s, there was no makeup yet. There was a little bit, but not really. Only people in theater did makeup. It was considered vulgar. Women didn't do makeup. The only thing you could do was hair and clothing. Get better hair, get nicer hair and better clothing. And being pretty, yes, the cult of pretty already existed. And Anne in Anne of Green Gables, which is said a little earlier, was so penalized for being an ugly child.
Yeah, because she had red hair. That was all they ever talked about.
Yes, and so if you didn't have the right physical accoutrements, you could do something about the hair, you could do something about the clothing, but you could be out of luck.
Yeah, and this Sarah was seriously out of luck, and then she lost her hair, and then it pretty much broke her. This woman comes by with the product, and over the course of some time, her hair starts growing back by good use, good quality hair care. And she's like, that's it for that. That's what we need. Women on the marginalized area of societies, we need good hair so we can work in a shop, so we can work in a hotel, so we can present ourselves. They never say so we can get husbands. I like that about this series. She didn't have problem getting husbands. She got quite a bunch of them. Which I also like about this series.
Shows you that men aren't always interested in pretty. Sometimes they're interested in personality and stuff like that.
Yeah, and she nice. Really... I've seen pictures of the actual Madam C.J. Walker on, the pictures that are available. She would still not be considered for like a Hollywood classic beauty, but you can do a lot. What this series really makes clear to the wider audience, and I'm part of the wider audience because I'm not a black person living in the South in America, not even in Indianapolis, is that there are gradations. I think in terms of there is like the white people, and then there are the brown people, and then there's the black people, and that may be really, something I should not be thinking. When this series shows that within that black spectrum, there are all sorts of different skin tones. And this is the reason why I'm not using the parlance of the series, because they use terms for that, and one, I don't wish to remember them, and two, that is not for me to use. But what it's clearly showing is that the beauty ideal is the European features. The European color and the European features. And the closer you get to that, and preferably with long flowing hair, that is
hair.
As straight as possible, but gentle curls is already a lot better than the cropped up. And I think maybe in the 1970s when the afros were coming in, that's actually rebelling against all of that.
Yes, it is.
I remember Oprah saying that earlier on she was used to just before you go out the door you straighten your hair. And I heard that. I was a lot younger and I was like, what does that mean? Because, you know, my hair is as straight as a line, so I have no idea what straightening your hair means. But it was literally you put your hair on in an iron and you straighten your hair.
And it takes an hour to do.
So before you can go out the door, you have to straighten your hair.
For an hour.
That's insane. So yay 70s, 1970s, and yay afros. So hair was the one thing that people could do anything about. And they weren't giving black women products to do so. This Addie person came up with a product. And she did do it.
I can add to that that I found this out, that curly hair versus straight hair, when hairdressers talk about it, they say that curly hair is more damaged than straight hair. That is why it is curly. It is fundamentally more damaged in that sense, and it's weaker, and that's why you need special products for afro, which is the most ultimate curly hair you can have. You need other products than you and I need.
I think one of the issues that people are dealing with is that if the hair is more frail and more damaged and wants to curl into itself, you're actually going to be able to make short hair look so much better. But short hair was not allowed up until the 1920s.
Whereas in Africa, always for women, short hair has been the norm. There is no long hair in Africa, in actual Africa, in tribal Africa. Everybody had short hair, and when you get a little older, you just shave it all off. Also, hot country.
Well, I mean, talk about power. So Sarah says to her customers, hair is power. Hair gets you places. The right hairdo. So she doesn't only need to have the product, she also needs to have the tools, because it is said at the very, very end, it said that the hot combing tools, that she didn't invent those, but she marketed them and she made ways to use them better. And she ran a salon, and she eventually runs endless salons because, hey, millionaire. So she builds an empire on hair. And it's for black women, by black women, by also black barbers. So she has men working for her who are barbers dealing with the black hairs, because the men can walk around with short hair, and that seems to be pretty okay. But the men who know how to make men's hair, they were being trained to do women's hair now. Because nobody was doing the women's hair, the black women's hair, that type of hair. And the one thing that struck me about all of that is that you have all the gradations going back down from, okay, we're already not white, therefore we're already on this lower end of society because they'll never let us in there. And then you go down and down and down. Okay, you have to be pretty. You have to have good hair. Well, she wasn't pretty. She didn't have good hair. You have to be European features. She didn't have that. And it went down and down and down. And then you have to be... well, she did actually have a kid. She had husbands, multiples. Some died on her. And she was... When she lost her hair, she was at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. So somebody who was... Yes, she was born into freedom, but she says hair is freedom.
For this generation.
Yeah. for her generation, for all the women. And she was able to voice it. And one of the things that is so beautiful about how she sells is that she talks to the women about her journey, and then she says, this is what it can do for you. Doesn't matter what your face looks like, it doesn't matter what your features like. Good hair will make life better for you. So it's all about giving everybody more chance in life. And that's why she said hair is freedom. So I loved it. It is such a good series. I would recommend everybody watch it. There is so much going on. I mean, she has to bring this hair product and then go every step that she tries to do. Everybody else tries to bonk her down. And the harder they try, the harder she comes up with bigger ideas. And I love seeing that. You know, the resilience of this woman. And I was thinking, one of the quotes is, not from this thing, is like, freedom is having nothing left to lose. She had nothing left to lose. You bonk a person down so much, and there's two things that can happen. They die, or they jump up and they're like, well, you bonk me, I bonk back. So it's a fantastic role model. And speaking of role models, when she talks to Rockefeller at the end,
as you do,
which is very cool, because they move in once she's really, really established. They move into New York, to that area, and she's next door to Rockefeller. And then she says, I haven't spoken to him yet. But at some point, of course, she does speak, because it's a television show, and it has to, you have to resonate from one scene to the next. And then the guy,
name dropping,
and it is so cool. And he's like, what's going on your terrain, on your estate? Oh yes, my my sales ladies are protesting. My employees are protesting because she made a deal. This is door-to-door selling of hair products, which is very normal. They did that, it's like another brand of, like, I'm not gonna name brands, but there's all sorts of brands that do this, that is only door-to-door sales. And or house party sales. And she has just made a deal with a large chain store to put her branded products in there. Yes, of course. I mean, that is a fantastic deal. She's been waiting for this deal for so long. And then her sales ladies protest. Because if they can get it in the store, why? What am I doing? Where's my job going? And so she talks to Rockefeller about this, and he says, oh, employees always protest. It's very simple. You do what, you didn't get here by doing what other people tell you. Actually, he didn't quite say that, but, being dictated to by employees, maybe he said. Therefore, just fire them. And you go continue with your grand plan, because she now, for Rockefeller, she is in that, yes, she's a weird person in his world, but then again, she got the mansion and she is a millionaire, so she's in the millionaire club. So he's like, well, I'll give you the advice what I would give my buddy on the golf course. And she turns around and she tells all the ladies, we're keeping you as sales ladies. I am calling off the deal with the chain company, because it was for her, I think, yes, she wanted to build an empire, but it was also to bring the women up, bring black women up in the world. And these people that she employs, which by that time she has 10,000 employees, she is also bringing them up into the world, because they have a paying job and they can get commission from every sale they do. So that's a proper job that a woman can do without being dependent on a man, on anything, on family, on whether she has kids or not, or age or not. Not too young maybe, but you could do this in your 60s. And you can see, here's my hair, this is how it improved my hair, this is what it can do for you. That story will always work. And I think it's great. She employs a lawyer fairly early on. The scene with the lawyer, there's so few white people in this series. And every white person that's in there, there's actually a reason for them to be in there. I haven't actually spotted a woman. They're all men. First one was when this lawyer comes in. Well, she wants this lawyer, and it's somebody's cousin who studied law, and now he is a porter at the station because nobody will employ him. And she's like, I need a lawyer because I need to know. She has very mediocre education, like seriously low-end education. She is reading books constantly, but she will need a lawyer to make sure everything works and is legit and all the paperwork's filed and all that. So she's talking to this guy, you come be a lawyer for me. And he's like, I don't know. You know, a woman entrepreneur. And he wasn't actually that down on the woman part. It's just like, you know. And then he gets a scolding to from somebody at the station, from a white dude at the station for, I don't know, scratching his suitcase or whatever. And he's like, okay, when can I start? And these kind of things.
Anything is better than that.
Yes, so these are the kind of white roles that are in the thing, and it shows their world is not. It doesn't have white people in it. There's two other times that there's white people. The one with Rockefeller, and there's the one where she goes to the bank. No, she goes to the company to make that deal for the product, and she also has earlier. She has some investors come in her factory much earlier before she's ready to go to have her product out there in stores. And the investors, the whole thing gets thwarted by her husband, the CJ Walker that she names herself after, and the husband does get ditched. Not for that, but for much more. There's the other thing, she's also a woman. So when all this rung down, it's like women are nothing. They're not interesting. And this whole miniseries is full of women. And it's all sorts of different women. They make a point of what type of woman is doing what. And later, so Addie, which is her big rival in this series, she employs women who have the European features, whose skin is lighter, who has the much more relaxed or somewhat relaxed hair, and all of that. And Sarah, Madam C.J. Walker, is not doing that. She has them across the board, and therefore you see all these different types of women. And that was remarked on by Octavia Spencer in an interview that I watched, is that the range of women that she could put in this. And I appreciate that, because what an absolute wonderfulness to watch. So it's a class-based society, and the class is determined by color and not just by, I would say yes, the color is determined by race, but within that there are these other rungs. So it's a dog eat dog. It's a shit rolls downhill. It's everybody is going from, there's always somebody you can push down harder under yourself because of that. And I feel that she was trying to get past all that, mostly because she had to fight every single part of it. Octavia Spencer as the lead actress, fantastic. As far as I know, she's also the producer. And Netflix seemed to have given her some issues producing this. And she credited some of her male producers, co-producers, with helping her. So even today, there is still a point where not only black people but women, and therefore you double everything up, is not good. But she's doing a very good job. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of whatever it is that she comes up with. There have been some criticisms of the series because the book, the biography, which was written by something like the great-great-granddaughter of Madam C.J. Walker, that it's not actually followed the book. So it's loosely based on the book. It's inspired, I wrote down, it's inspired by the life of. One of the things was her daughter in this, Lelia, is in this series, she's a lesbian. Well, maybe bisexual. There's certainly a bisexual phase before she just decides on women only. And I found that storyline really interesting. And I think that's why it's in there. If it may not be in the book, it could be not historical, but this whole series, there is like a fantastical element to it in that sense that every time that things go, that Sarah has ideas, Madam CJ has ideas, then you start seeing like the visions of it. So she's in the boxing ring with Addie when she has to go up against her big rival. And you see that. And there's also when she thinks about, I want to make not just a tiny factory, but I want to have all of this, and I want to have the ladies, I want them to entertain and show people, and she was always thinking bigger, bigger, bigger. And we get to see that. We get to see her visions before they actually happen. And I like it. So I would say the whole thing is definitely a painting. Impressionism. The clothing as well. Because when she moves from Indianapolis, she moves to New York City. Lelia moves first. And then they're all wearing what is almost flapper, but the whole thing ends in 1919, so that's not possible. But there was pre-flapper. There was like this bohemian. They enter into the life of Bohemia there, especially Lelia. She's like, this is what I was born for. Yes, Once she made it to New York City, it's like she was never gonna leave. And they make a remark saying, okay, she was always different, so she could have been not just LGBTQ, but she could have been maybe on the neurodiversity spectrum or anything like that, because she's certainly a little behind on her learning in the beginning. She's already an adult when it starts, and it takes her a long time to understand. But that would anybody without an education. If you are dropped in the middle of a running organization and she's supposed to learn parts of it so she can take it over, that takes years. That I don't think we can immediately say she was dumb to start with, because that's not how it is. If you don't give a person education, then they're years and years behind on catching up with things. For instance, Lelia's first or only husband that she ditched, he did not. And Lelia's husband is, as well as CJ, the husband, so Sarah's husband, they commit corporate espionage in this thing. That literally everything that you can possibly throw at people was thrown at her to get her down. So kudos, they got through all of that. Well, I said at the beginning somewhere, I said shit rolls downhill, and I think one of the ways to get people to always stay in the gutter is by dividing and conquering. And one of the things that she is showing here is not only do you have to make yourself better and build that company, etc., but also bring people up with you, because you're much stronger together. And the first part's capitalism, that's fine. The second part is not capitalism, but it is smart. And I think she was so smart, and they showed it here. So I love the show. It's a four-part miniseries. Go watch it. Let's see what Octavia's gonna do next, because she's rocking, and apparently she has 10 projects going on. It was filmed in Ontario, and that I was very surprised, because it really looks good. And I think what they were able to do is find some streets and some buildings that were just, they were 1900 and they were 1880, and you could just dress it up. And if you film in the summer in Ontario, it's going to look like, you can make it look like anything. I am, of course, not from the South. I'm not even from the US or Canada. So
Looked good to
it
you.
looked good to me. So that was my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.